We're out on the ski trail, having my little morning cup of herb tea
I
here.
raise cows, right? And this year, first cow I butcher is going to be for me.
Fans of Alaska, the last frontier, are reeling after a shocking discovery inside Otto Kilcher's hidden freezer has left the community stunned. The disturbing find has sparked intense speculation about what might have been happening behind the scenes of the popular reality show. According to recent reports, investigators uncovered something described as completely unthinkable that has connections to the Kilcher homestead.
Rivers, and there's times where the tide was high and got hypothermia crossing the river one time.
Meanwhile, similar discoveries were reportedly made in Atz Kilcher's old barn, further deepening the mystery surrounding the family. In this video, we are going to unveil the unexpected revelation that has undoubtedly raised serious questions. Want answers? Come along. Otto Kilcher's life before the freezer incident, before the shocking freezer discovery ever entered the picture or stirred up headlines in the reality TV world, Otto Kilcher had already earned a place in the hearts of millions as one of the most beloved cast members on Discovery Channel's Alaska, The Last Frontier. People reportedly saw him as the soul of the homestead, the man who could fix almost anything and turn a hopeless situation into a workable plan with nothing more than a pile of scrap metal and his own stubborn creativity. Viewers said they admired how he always seemed calm under pressure, how he would grin through frustration, and how he somehow made even the hardest days in the Alaskan wilderness look like another chance to learn something new. As the sixth of 8 children of Yule and Ruth Kilcher, he grew up steeped in a world where self-sufficiency wasn't just a skill, but a necessity, and he carried that upbringing into adulthood with a kind of pride that showed in every scene he appeared in. People often wondered how one man could know so much about old machinery, how he could look at a broken tractor that had been sitting for decades and immediately know which bolt needed tightening or which part he could improvise from something lying around in his famous junkyard. What made him see possibility in things most people would throw away? His junkyard quickly became one of the show's most memorable features, almost like a character of its own, piled high with abandoned engines, rusted parts, and machines waiting for someone with Otto's vision to bring them back to life. Fans reportedly said that Otto's laugh, his quick jokes, and his habit of talking to machines as if they were stubborn friends made him feel real and familiar, almost like an uncle or a neighbor everyone wished they had. Before the freezer incident, viewers often described him as one of the most genuine personalities on reality television, someone who reminded them of simpler times and honest work. Many claimed they tuned in just to see what creative repair he would attempt next, because his mechanical know-how wasn't just impressive, it was inspiring. On social media, fans shared how they tried repairing things instead of throwing them away, because Otto made it look not only doable, but rewarding. They asked for his tips, wondered how he learned so much, and talked about how his problem-solving skills taught them patience and resourcefulness. Wasn't it remarkable, they asked, that a reality show personality could influence people's daily habits in such a concrete way? Even viewers who knew nothing about homesteading said Otto made them curious about self-reliance, homemade solutions, and the satisfaction of fixing something with their own hands. On the Kilcher homestead itself, Otto's contributions reportedly stretched far beyond just repairing old machines. The family relied on him in ways that were both practical and deeply rooted in tradition. His ability to keep vital equipment running meant the difference between a smooth season and a challenging one, especially during Alaska's harsh winters and short summers. Every year, the tasks changed: clearing snow, hauling supplies, harvesting hay, managing livestock. and Otto's skills quietly held the entire operation together. He was often seen teaching younger family members how to operate heavy machinery, how to care for animals, or how to approach a mechanical failure with patience instead of panic. Viewers loved watching those moments because they seemed to capture something that felt rare in modern life: the passing down of knowledge from one generation to the next. Didn't it make people wonder how many skills today's world might be losing? Otto's teachings extended especially into cattle raising, an area where he reportedly had decades of experience. His understanding of how to keep the herd healthy provided not just food for the family, but also a small but important stream of income. Another reminder of how everything on the homestead depended on balance, effort, and care. He also practiced a waste-not approach that viewers admired deeply. Whenever something broke, his first instinct was to salvage it, take it apart, and figure out how it might live on as something else. People said this wasn't just a habit, but a philosophy, one rooted in respect for the land and the reality of living far from big stores or modern conveniences. Why buy something new when the old one could be repaired or repurposed? And perhaps the real question lingering underneath it all was this: how far could someone's commitment to resourcefulness truly go before it crossed into something unsettling? His mindset resonated strongly with environmentally conscious viewers who praised his creativity and refusal to waste anything. But even they had no idea what was coming next, because tucked away behind that praise was a secret no one expected. Stay with me till the very end. The disturbing contents of the hidden freezer will change everything. The disturbing contents of the hidden freezer. The discovery process reportedly began in the most unexpected way, all because of a failing generator that pushed Otto into a part of the homestead he rarely visited anymore. What seemed like a simple mechanical issue, something any ranching family might shrug off, would end up exposing a side of the reality TV star that many people never imagined existed. According to those close to him, it all started when Otto went searching for the source of the problem and found himself in a neglected area behind his workshop, a space cluttered with stacked lumber, rusted tools, and things he had been meaning to deal with for years. Hidden there was an old freezer that had been quietly humming along for decades, a unit most family members barely remembered. When the generator malfunctioned, the freezer lost power, and what followed was a faint yet unmistakable sour metallic odor creeping from its edges, the kind of smell that instantly signaled that something inside had gone terribly wrong. Some people later wondered aloud how long that freezer had been holding secrets, and why no one had questioned its presence before now. But as Otto opened the lid, he reportedly found a sight that stunned him into silence. Inside the freezer was a disturbing collection of preserved items, each one representing a small piece of the homestead's history, though several pieces felt more unsettling than nostalgic. Witnesses described layers of yellowish butcher paper wrapped around old packages, mason jars sealed with rusted lids, and dozens of plastic bags marked with handwritten dates stretching back more than 15 years. The contents ranged from strange to alarming. There were sheep organs labeled from an animal lost during a brutal winter nearly a decade earlier. There were unrecognizable cuts of meat that had turned a ghostly gray from being thawed and refrozen over and over again, as though they had been forgotten each year and then rediscovered too late to be useful. There were small unmarked bags containing skeletal fragments and tufts of fur from old trapping seasons, items that Otto reportedly kept for reference or personal record-keeping. And then there was the package dated from the year Otto had suffered his well-known internal bleeding emergency which contained remains from one of his favorite cattle that had fallen ill and died unexpectedly. As investigators later said, every layer seemed to tell a story, but some stories raised more questions than answers. Why had these items not been disposed of properly? And how had they remained hidden for so long on a property so closely tied to conservation rules? These questions quickly turned into legal concerns because while Otto reportedly insisted that the sheep organs had been stored for veterinary reference and teaching purposes, the overall condition of the freezer and its contents raised serious health and conservation issues. Not long after the discovery, a civil lawsuit was filed against Otto Kilcher, the Kilcher Homestead Trust, and the Kilcher Family Trust by the Kachemak Heritage Land Trust. The complaint alleged that Otto had violated the long-standing conservation easement placed on the homestead, a set of rules designed to protect the land from harmful materials and environmental risks. According to court documents, the accusations went far beyond the freezer's contents. Investigators claimed Otto had accumulated multiple prohibited materials over the years, including old tires, decaying building materials, oil containers, and storage barrels that were never meant to be on the protected land. These allegations reportedly shocked many people who saw Otto as a lifelong steward of the land. But what complicated the situation even further were the questions about whether some of the animal remains belonged to protected species. One specialist examining the contents reportedly announced that a particular sample appeared to come from an animal that was legally protected, not the mountain goat Otto had claimed to have hunted. And perhaps the real question lingering underneath it all was this: what did this discovery truly mean for everyone involved? That single finding completely shifted the tone of the investigation. If the remains belonged to a protected species, this wasn't just a conservation issue anymore. It was the beginning of a potential criminal case. And trust me, the fallout that followed, legal, emotional, and deeply personal, is something you'll want to see unfold till the very end. The fallout: legal, emotional, and personal. The discovery inside the freezer reportedly set off a chain of events that no one in the Kilcher family could have imagined, and what started as a simple round of questioning quickly spiraled into something far more serious. Law enforcement officials arrived at Otto Kilcher's property with the intention of gathering information, but within minutes, the situation escalated with a speed that left everyone stunned. Otto tried to stay calm at first, answering questions and insisting there had been a misunderstanding. Yet witnesses later said the tension in the air felt heavy, as if something was about to go terribly wrong. And then it did. Despite protests from family members, officers placed Otto in handcuffs, turning a tense conversation into a full-blown arrest. It was at that moment, according to those who were present, that tears finally fell from Otto's eyes. A man known for toughness and resilience now quietly breaking in front of the home he had built with his own hands. His legal defense centered around what he described as a technical disagreement, stressing that the issue stemmed from conflicting definitions of how the land trust defines a high tunnel, a detail he argued had been blown out of proportion. But how could something so unusually specific lead to a moment this dramatic? And how could a disagreement about land management suddenly shift into a scene that looked nothing like the peaceful lifestyle the Kilchers were known for? The emotional toll on the family was immediate. Chaos filled the homestead as officers moved through the property, and Otto's wife reportedly stood her ground, blocking armed officials while demanding an explanation for why things had escalated so suddenly. His children watched helplessly, unsure how any of it made sense. For a family that prided itself on unity, survival, and self-reliance, the sight of their father being taken away struck with a force none of them had been prepared for. After the arrest, the weight of Otto's responsibilities fell on his sons, Ivan and August, who both stepped in to keep the homestead running. They took on chores Otto normally handled, working long hours and pushing through the emotional weight, because on a homestead, life cannot pause. Animals still need feeding, structures still need maintenance, and nature doesn't slow down just because a family is hurting. Could anyone truly understand the pressure of having to grieve and perform demanding physical labor at the same time? And what does a homestead feel like when the person who held so much of it together is suddenly gone? This incident also resurfaced memories of past legal trouble within the family, reminding viewers that Otto wasn't the only Kilcher who had faced scrutiny. Years earlier, Atz and his wife Jane had dealt with misdemeanor charges related to allegedly using a helicopter during a 2014 black bear hunt. While those issues were eventually resolved, they had introduced stress into the family long before the freezer incident. Observers said the couple's relationship had shown signs of strain on camera, with some pointing out that Jane never did a lot with him and that Atz seemed to want her to participate in more oddball things than she felt comfortable with. Their reactions to Otto's situation remained mostly private, though the silence itself made many wonder what was happening behind closed doors. Did the newest crisis deepen old tensions? Did it bring unresolved family issues back to the surface? Or did it force everyone to confront feelings they had been avoiding for years? As the freezer incident gained public attention, the Kilchers suddenly found themselves facing not only legal battles, but also the scrutiny of viewers who had long seen them as role models of frontier living. Fans who admired their simplicity and strength were now left questioning how the family would recover from something so disruptive. The once beloved homesteaders were thrust into a position where every word, every expression, and every action could be interpreted, judged, or criticized. The bigger picture, what this means for reality TV. Otto Kilcher's freezer incident reportedly cast a bright, uncomfortable spotlight on the broader reality TV industry, raising questions that many people had quietly wondered about for years. People familiar with the situation said it forced everyone to think about how much of what appears on television is genuinely real, and how much is cleverly shaped to look real. Alaska, as they explained, had become a major hub for television production, with no fewer than 20 different reality shows filmed there. This boom apparently happened because the state offers a perfect combination of low production costs, accessible landscapes, and generous tax incentives that were introduced after the massive success of Deadliest Catch. But the rise of these shows led observers to ask whether the version of Alaska being sold to the public truly reflects life there. How real is reality when an entire industry grows around shaping it? People who had worked behind the scenes admitted that most shows, Alaska: The Last Frontier included, alter real situations far more than viewers might believe. They said producers usually didn't hand out formal scripts, but often established situations that needed to play out, gently nudging cast members toward storylines designed for maximum emotional effect. Columnist Emily Fehrenbacher reportedly pointed out the irony behind many dramatic scenes involving the Kilcher family, noting that plenty of Alaskans knew the homestead was just a short drive from Homer, and that the family could easily grab a bucket of fried chicken from Safeway if things ever became too dire. This raised the simple but important question: were audiences truly witnessing rugged frontier living? Or were they watching an edited, polished narrative built to make everyday tasks look like life and death challenges? And if producers were crafting these narratives, what did that say about authenticity in a genre that markets itself on realness? On top of the questions about authenticity, people familiar with the industry said reality TV cast members often faced an intense level of public scrutiny they were never prepared for. Once a person appeared on television, their life reportedly stopped being entirely theirs. Former participants from various reality shows said the emotional pressure could be overwhelming, especially when support systems were lacking. After several tragic deaths among UK Love Island contestants, people began asking hard questions about what responsibilities producers truly owed to the individuals who made their shows possible. Was it enough to simply pay them and send them home? Or should production teams provide mental health assistance, guidance, and long-term support? Industry critics said many participants struggled with anxiety, depression, public backlash, and, in some cases, thoughts after episodes aired. How could everyday people be expected to handle sudden fame, endless online judgment, and the burden of playing a version of themselves that might not match who they really were? Otto Kilcher's situation reportedly served as a case study of how reality TV shapes nostalgia, identity, and public expectation all at once. Observers explained that these shows were often designed to appeal to urban audiences, who make up nearly 82.5% of Americans, and that producers intentionally crafted stories that romanticized rural life through a conservative, old-fashioned lens. They said these portrayals leaned into the idea of self-reliance, toughness, and frontier simplicity, creating a fantasy that city dwellers found comforting or inspiring. But while this storytelling formula worked well for ratings, it often glossed over the realities of modern rural living, real human struggles, and the complexities of the people appearing on screen. Was the audience being offered a thoughtful exploration of rural culture, or simply a nostalgic dream packaged as a documentary? People close to the Kilcher family said the consequences went far beyond entertainment. Once cast members were introduced to the world through television, their real-life decisions reportedly became forever linked to their on-screen identities. What happened to Otto in his freezer incident became not just a personal or family matter, but a public event filtered through editing choices, production goals, and the expectations of millions of viewers who believed they knew him. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.